Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today is May 31st, 2020. And today, instead of doing my normal Facebook Live in the Conscious Empath, today I wanted to take some extra time. It's always really nice for me to have like live people on a live call to really be able to kind of facilitate the energy versus the energy of the Facebook Live. Because Facebook Live, it's like I'm connecting to all of the people within that group versus here we have a smaller group of us showing up and there's already a lot of energy being created today. So today I'm going to really kind of address some of the stuff that's going on right now in the world and really clear some of the separation we may be feeling and some of the upset or the fear we may be feeling in our own bodies over what's going on right now, and just really giving ourselves, each and every one of us, the space to heal and be at peace within, and really even just nurture and just surround our own bodies with healing and just expansion and love, and allowing that to kind of really trickle out to everyone around you. Um, as I'm kind of talking here, I'm going to just let this energy build. So initially, it's been really an interesting, the last, I guess, month or so in the group. We've been talking about lots of different paradigms every week. I've been trying to kind of focus on one subject. And what was it? I guess it's been, I wanted to look. It's been a few weeks since we did the 10-day free course that I did. And we really looked a lot at judgment and programming, right? And then we went into, so we looked at that, we did 10 days of that, and really becoming aware of how much programming we have, just that autoresponder of information. And I wanted to really touch on that today because I wanted to remind us that, I know that there's so much going on right now with the, with the movements that are the civil rights movements that are kind of coming through, and so much where we're even really being challenged with, the like the race stuff and the social profiling and that kind of stuff. And I want to really even again address that and really even take a little bit of time today to really even go deeper into that programming. I know when I did that 10-day challenge, I really wanted us to really look at, when we look at certain people, when we see certain things, what kind of instant judgments do we have that come in our mind, or come up for us that we instantaneously feel or think. And I think right now it's really so important as we're moving through this. I mean, we're literally in the middle of, there's so many different things going on, right? We're just kind of wrapping up COVID-19 or whatever's going on with that. It's moving into a whole different direction, right? Now we're in this like civil rights movement of, really embracing all forms of life, right? No distinction between color, no upset anymore around what's right and wrong and good and bad as far as racial profiling, and really truly understanding that, like, again, like, we have been programmed to think a certain way about people, right? Especially when it comes to Black people, right? We've been very programmed to think a certain way. And over the years, as I've been working on programming, that's really, with any race, really, a lot of, what I really do within shifting my own viewpoints is understanding that, those instant thoughts that I have are more than likely programmed thoughts. And when we went over that in the 10-day challenge, that was a lot of what I talked about, that autoresponder of information is just your programming. It's really not, yourself. It's not really what you believe. It's the programmed information that we have been taught to believe about others. And as we work through this, even within ourselves, and really understand that, because I see something and define it as a certain way, especially instantaneously, it's not I think with programming, and I talked a lot about this during the 10-day challenge, it's really not it's not like a wrongness of me. It's just the information that comes forward when I've been programmed to think a certain way about someone. So to change that, and I think as we're going through, especially this right now, I mean, we're going through, we're moving into a oneness paradigm. That's really what's going on as we evolve and we ascend. We're realizing that we're all one, right? There's no separation. We've been taught, we've been programmed with the idea that we're separate from each other, but we're not. There's no separation between us and fellow people, regardless of where they're from, whether they're Indian or Asian or African American. It really, we're all one. And the more and more we allow ourselves to release the programming around the definitions which we have been programmed to believe, right, the more and more we move into this oneness paradigm. It's really interesting right now because we're dealing with multiple levels of things going on in this civil rights movement. Not only are we kind of banding together and going through this oneness paradigm of really embracing each other, we have the other side of the riots, which is really an interesting paradigm, because now when I look at, and personally, this is just kind of my own personal awareness, when I look at what's going on as far as the people coming together and peacefully protesting, that has one energy on it, right? And there's people that are going and doing the protests in the different areas, and then there is like almost like a completely different energy around the riots. And I think that's really important for all of us to acknowledge right now, how a majority of the riot energy isn't actually really attached within the protest people, right? It's like two different energies. So I think that right now, for me, the riot energy is still this like movement that's trying to keep us separate, where the protest energy and the people protesting are in a completely different space of really trying to just, really stand up for this whole like no more separation, no more segregation, no more, difference between the any of us, really. So I think it's really important to really acknowledge that as we move through this and we heal the separation in between us, is that the riot energy has a completely different energy space and consciousness on it. And if we really dig a little bit deeper, I think that we'll even see that it's actually has more of an agenda based on it to keep it separate and to keep us from really acknowledging the truth. It's time that we really step into this energy of having peace as one within this society. I'm just going to vortex this energy through. As I'm talking, there's just a lot of what I like to call, it's like, so I'm becoming more and more deeply familiar with the type of energy that I deliver when I do these kind of things. And it's almost like a web energy that just comes in and kind of just untangles you from the solidified viewpoints, points of views, the form and structure that no longer works for your body. And as I'm talking here, I'm just weaving through some different energies so we can really kind of clear out these paradigms of separation. So we can even look at them. It really helps when I'm looking at programming. One of the things that I found, especially when I was younger, and I guess I would even say before I even really got into doing this work, as an energetically sensitive person, as an empath, I know personally I was always feeling like I was like pummeled with information. Like I always felt this quickness in my body, and it was like no matter what I did or what I looked at or what I was doing, it was just this constant like definition of this is this and that is that and this is that and this is that. And it was just this constant, felt like my brain was just I don't know what the word is, almost like overwhelmed with words. I'll put it that way. And as I got into consciousness work and as I really got into understanding how being space and how really truly like not resisting. You know, I talk a lot about not being in resistance, and it's very true for even programming. Okay, so if you are looking at someone or something and you're having that initial like information that comes up, like an instantaneous judgment of some sort that makes you feel heavy, giving yourself the space to acknowledge that you have that program, clearing it out, and moving on. I'm just going to kind of install that information for every one of us. So we have to, because one of the things that we have to understand within programming is you can't resist programming. Okay. And as we are all reprogramming our lives in so many different ways right now, we have to understand that we cannot resist the programming. Because when you resist the programming, or you hear the programming in your head and you make yourself wrong, and that looks like, to me, that looks like if I hear something in my head and then I go, oh gosh, I'm so stupid. Why do I think that? I'm so judgmental. I'm so this, I'm so that. Like I instantaneously make myself wrong for thinking what I was thinking. That's going to lock that judgment in even farther. Okay. It was interesting as I was thinking about this call today on my drive to the chiropractor's office today. I was looking at all the billboards on the way in, and I was so aware of how even like we are just pummeled with information that makes us feel bad and wrong about ourselves, aren't we? We're just pummeled constantly with, if you think this way, this is bad and wrong. If you think this way, this is bad and wrong. And it's really most of like I can't even remember what was on the billboard now. There was a billboard I passed. I want to say it had like some hospital on it, and it was, I don't know, but when I looked at the billboard, it was like this instantaneous guilt projection, and I thought, gosh, you know, it's so true how often we are getting pummeled with information. It's making us, it's triggering certain programmed viewpoints, right? And then we're internalizing those viewpoints, and we're making them about something that we intrinsically are, instead of understanding that it just triggered a program inside of you. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that it triggered that program. You can see the program, you can hear the program. It's time to be aware of the programs so you can clear the programs out, so you no longer have to function within them. None of us are intrinsically bad people. Okay, none of us are judgmental people. You don't learn, or you're not born in this reality with judgments. You're programmed with a certain way to think about people. Let's just expand this out a little bit more. Let's just make sure that we're all the way out expanded. Let's put our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down. And let's expand out. Make yourself as big as the city that you're in. Go all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. And take a nice deep breath. And let's go ahead and expand out as big as the state that you're in. All the way out and all the way down and all the way up. And expand out as big as the country that you're in. All the way out and all the way down and all the way up. Nice deep breath. And the planet that we're on, let's just expand it all the way through and all the way through and all the way through and all the way through. Becoming one with everyone and everything. I know that feels a little difficult right now, doesn't it? There's so many points of views and opinions and rights and wrongs and goods and bads that are getting projected out right now. And what we want to do is we want to remove all of them right there, and we're just going to go all the way through them. We're going to make ourselves so big that all of the rights and wrongs and goods and bads and all of the opinions that are just getting projected all over the place just flow right through. You're not the effect of any of them in the universe. In the multiverse, multiple universes. And times that by million, times that by million, times that by million, times that by million, all the way out to the space of who you be, as the infinite being that you be. I'm just going to vortex this for a moment, just really just get you all the way into the space of you, really acknowledging that we are aware. And in the space of who we are not judgmental. We are not resistors of information. We just allow our beings to flow through with the information, no point of view, no judgments. A nice deep breath. And I'm just going to vortex this out for a moment and just really allow each and every one of us to just really be filled with the space of peace and ease right now. This week, my plan was to really talk about having each other's back. Right? We did a couple weeks ago. We did gosh, what did we do first? I can't remember. Then we did showing up last week. First, we did the the programs. Then we did gosh, why can't I remember what that was? Then we did showing up last week anyways, and this week I wanted to really talk about having each other's back. And I thought, how timely is this to have this conversation about really showing up for each other, about really having each other's back, about really truly embracing each other for who people are. And I know I had posted something about having each other's back or about being the space of allowance for others. And someone had commented and said about, well, it's hard to let people just show up sometimes because we don't want to let, hate or bad people in our lives. And, really showing up and having each other's back, it doesn't really come with, like, we still have to have awareness, right? We always have to lead with awareness. But really looking at having each other's back is really this concept of understanding that, many of us are dealing with heavy levels of programming. We have been a very programmed society. And let me tell you what, I've been working on releasing my programming for literally years now. And, it's one of these things where it's like, you really have to actively work at releasing your programming. And you know what? Some people in this world are still highly programmed, and that's okay. Like, we're all in the space of where we're at right now, on our own journey, on our own path, and on our own way to creating a life that we desire. And we're all waking up to the even the awareness, I feel like, of how deeply programmed we are. I mean, that's part of this whole awakening paradigm that we're going through right now. And especially since the beginning of this year, there's been so many veils lifted and so many new paradigms have become available, and so many places and spaces where things are being revealed and we're able to see them clearly. And the more and more we see this information clearly, the more and more programming that you're going to have come up and tell you that that's not right, or this isn't this, or and the more and more you really have to learn how to discern what feels true for you in your body and what doesn't. The truth will always set you free. The truth is always going to feel light and free within your body. Something that is maybe partly true, but with a lie attached, is always going to make you feel heavy. Now, when we're looking at showing up for each other, one of the things that I always acknowledge when I'm showing up for somebody else is, you know what, that person more than likely has a lot of programs going on. And I think every single one of us really has been in a place where we're showing up a certain way in our life and we hate it, right? We've all been there where it's like we say things and we're like, oh my God, why did I say that? I just literally just spit something out and just, that was not who I wanted to say that. That is not who I want to be. This is not who I want to show up as, right? We all have those programmed times in our life where we spew out anger, or we just say something that's totally uncharacteristic of ourselves, and that is programming. Okay, we all have a certain level of programming. And so to define anybody even as good or bad or right or wrong, in my opinion, it's never really truth, because until somebody is really truly within just themselves and not the societal programming that they've been functioning in, they're not truly showing up as themselves. And so as we move through this time and space, because let me tell you what, um, this is one piece of what we're going to be dealing with this year, right? Not dealing, but is going to be occurring. I mean, this is going to be occurring for a short time. Then something else is going to happen after this, and we're seeing all of these structures falling. Like right now, we're seeing a lot of the justice system stuff coming forward, and these structures are falling, and it is going to bring us together more and more as people, as we're understanding that we've been programmed to hate, right? We've been programmed to think a certain way about different races. We've been programmed to respond in certain ways, but we all are. We're all programmed to respond in different ways. I'm just going to pull this through for a moment. Let's just give us more space, more space, more space. Sometimes showing up and having those around you back, it looks messy. It looks like I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know this is how I want to be, and this is how I want to show up, and I might not be perfect yet. And understanding that if you show up in a way where you don't, where you make a mistake or you say something wrong, that you're taking that time to address that and say, I don't want to show up like this anymore. I don't want to be this person anymore. When I was going through my major transformation, and I talk about this a lot with my clients, there was a long time and space where almost every single day I was saying to my children, you know what, I don't want to be this person anymore. I'm sorry. This is not who I want to be. This is my programmed response to our life right now because I'm not happy with the way that our life is right this moment. And I apologize. I do not want to be this person anymore. I do not want to show up like this anymore. Changing your programming takes a certain level of vulnerability and openness and understanding that who you are showing up as is probably more than likely not your fault. It's a combination of what you've been programmed to think and do and say and be, but continuing forward, knowing that you have the the abilities and the possibilities to really truly be anyone you want to be opening and aware and there for everyone around you that will receive you. I'm just going to pull this through and give us each more space. Often I think about, the way I'm able to show up for people at this point in my life and have people's back. And, there was a time where I really had to shut down and I don't want to say shut everybody out, but I had to take a little bit of time to really cocoon myself and really learn who I was and what really truly worked for me. And, as you're going through your journey, don't be afraid to take that time to really look at yourself and the way that you're showing up and the automatic programs that are playing in your head that tell you certain things, and really challenge them and ask them if this is really who you want to be, if this is really who you want to show up as. Understand that if it's not, you have the power to change that. And now really showing up for people, and even showing up for those that my family and those that I love, I understand that there's a certain level of um, openness, or it's like you just show up without having an expectation or a projection of what that has to look like. It's like, I'm here, what do you require of me? I can be of assistance of any way, or that sometimes that just means being space for someone. And I'm just going to pull this through and just really allow any of that stuff right there to just kind of untangle and unwind and move out. I think about often if someone had shown up for me when I was little, when I was suffering, and when I was um, in a place where I didn't have a lot of kindness or caring in my life. And I know that when people started showing up for me, how much my life changed. When someone shows up for you and says, I don't have a point of view about who you have to be. I don't have a point of view about what has to happen. I'm just here, and I'm here to offer my support, and whatever that looks like. I'm just going to vortex that out. I know that it probably hasn't been easy for you to show up because no one's shown up for you. Many of us have never really had someone just show up without an agenda or a point of view or trying to fix us or talk us into choosing something. Learning to show up without an agenda is a totally different space to live. And I'm going to tell you that initially it's really uncomfortable because sometimes that means just showing up and not saying anything. And when we have a lot of noise in our head to show up and not respond uh, or not, speak, sometimes it can be difficult for us. I'm just going to vortex this through and give us more space, more space, more space, more space. And I'm going to pull that through and pull that through and pull that through and pull that through. As we ascend and as we understand deeper and deeper how very close we are and how really very one we really are, and how really the only thing that has separated us is our programmed points of views. I'm just going to go back. Let's just go back all the way, like let's do 100 years right now. We're just going to strip that all the way through and pull that all the way out. The thing about programming is it's not like most of it I don't even feel like is really even done within this generation. I feel like a majority of the programming that we're experiencing is, grandmother generational programming that, is intrinsically within our DNA. Programming is within our DNA. I'm just going to pull that out and pull that through and pull that out and pull that through. And we're just going to let's just hold some space of peace right now. Let's just lift that peace up and send it out into the world. Just really allowing that peace to just radiate through each one of our beings and out into the world. This movement, everything we're going to experience this year really is going to be laced with truth and then also agenda. And so it's really important that we understand the difference between the two. The truth feels light and free, and the agenda is going to feel heavy and it's going to feel hard and it's going to enrage. Okay? So when we look at the truth of all of what's going on right now is peace and love and oneness, and really becoming one with everyone and everything. And really let's just hold that space and give that more power and more space to become the reality. I mean, how fast could we just shift this into all being one? Let's just pull that through a little bit more. No separation, no division. As we move through, when this is over, it is going to be something else, and it it's almost like the system right now is losing control. And if you've been joining any of my live personal calls, I talk about this often. The system is losing control. This is our last year to clean out the structure, because next year is going to be a lot of building. There is going to be some at the beginning of the year. There's still going to be some chaos, but a majority of the big form and structure that this reality is depending on to keep this reality functioning in the space that it has been functioning at is crumbling. Okay, we are doing a deep clear of a lot of this, and since the beginning of the year, we've been watching, the governments fall, big banks have been falling. And it's just going to keep tumbling. And now we're seeing the justice system. We're going to see the school systems fall here very quickly as they prepare for this next year. So, we're bridging on here like a collapse of everything in this reality that doesn't work, and this includes the division of the races. That doesn't work for us as people. Dividing us does not work for us as people. And we are moving into that oneness paradigm, and all of these form and structures that do not work for us as people are crumbling. So you guys, the rest of this year is going to be intense. Okay, we are going to be experiencing a lot of continued chaos as these form and structures fall. So the more we can maintain space, the more we can maintain ease, the more we can project out the reality that we desire to be created, the faster and easier this ascension is going to be for each and every one of us. I'm just going to vortex this through. This year, the same time is it's going to be an interesting, because I feel like we're going to have some chaos probably up until March or April timeframe. And again, we are going to see a lot of things falling throughout the rest of the year. So it's definitely going to be, let's just put it this way, we're going to see a lot of our normals no longer exist. And the main thing that we really need to focus forward on is we're going to be building forward. We're going to be building through form and structure that does work. So by the time that this is all over, by December of 2021 next year, we are going to be in a new energy, space, and consciousness, and life is going to be better and easier for every single one of us here embodied on this planet. And that's the space I'm going to keep holding. And we are on our way, to peace and harmony and oneness. So let's just implant that through every single one of us. As I'm just kind of implanting this and wrapping these energies up, does anybody have anything that they would like to say, ask, add, contribute to the conversation? Okay, I'm just going to vortex this through and just really give each and every one of our bodies the energy of peace and ease and oneness, and just really that energy of inviting in the energy of peace and ease and oneness, and allowing that to align within each and every one of us. Breathing that through. Let's just receive here for a moment. What can we receive to bring more peace and ease for this planet for all eternity? And just receive. And let's just full spectrum receive for a moment here. Just allow your body and your being to just download whatever information the planet would desire you to have right now, anything it would like to abolish right now, and just give you more space to be you, more space to be you, more space to be you. Awesome. I'm just going to vortex this through. Thank you guys all for joining me today. I will do a Facebook Live next week. I think I'm going to start kind of mixing it up a little bit in the group. I do enjoy to do the recorded calls. It's nice to have a small group where we can just really focus on us within the group. So thank you guys all who joined me today. And I appreciate you showing up and being the space for each and every one of us. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Jamie.